Hosting a destination wedding, not sure if you need a family-friendly resort, adults only, and what's the difference? Hold on, let's talk about it. Hi, this is Jack with Vacationese. Do me a favor and subscribe to my videos. I do post new videos every Tuesday. Okay, so here's the thing. One of the first decisions you need to make once you know you're going to have a destination wedding and looking at resorts is, are you going to have a family-friendly wedding, meaning there's children, or can you have an adults-only wedding, meaning there's no children? Now, most of the time, if you have one child, you can't do adults only, you can't sneak them in, you can't just bring them for the day. But let's talk about this and why I want to talk about this. Well, here's the reason why I want to talk about this. Over the past couple months to the past year, we've had a good number of clients that have been with family-friendly resorts. And as we get closer, we look at the rooming list and we see there are no kids coming. So we've also had people that realize this midway through, that the few kids they were going to invite aren't coming, and now they want to change resorts midway through when their guests are fully paid. That's tough to do. So let's talk about the strategies of family-friendly versus adults only, and let's talk about the differences in the resort. So here's what you want to do first. You want to put your guest list in Excel and note any families you think or guests you think may have kids that are going to come with. You also want to note what you perceive the age of those kids will be the date of your wedding. Not today, but when they're going to travel. Now, if you have a lot of people on that list that have kids, then you're going to have kids. But if you have a limited number of people that are going to have kids attend, then we have some options to look at. So the first thing is, I think you want to talk to those guests that are going to have kids and try to determine, are they really going to come, or are you just inviting them as a courtesy? Because if they're not going to come, then maybe you want to do adults only, and we can talk about why later. If they're going to come, then it is what it is. You're going to have family friendly. Now, the other thing is, when you look at these children coming, if you know one of them is your brother's kid or somebody that's part of the wedding party, doesn't matter. If you invite 8 and only that one comes, you definitely need a family-friendly resort. Now let's talk about some strategies on what we can do. If you see that you're inviting, say, 50 people, and there's 5 couples or 5 people you're inviting with kids, but the majority of your guests are adults, here's the first thing you can do. You can try to determine with your travel planner if they can identify some resorts that are either a family-friendly right next to an adults only. Now, in most destinations in Mexico, Cabo, Cancun, Punta Cana, wherever, Jamaica, there are a couple resorts that are like that, owned by the same company, next to one another. You can get rooms on both sides. They roll up to your perks under one contract. You can have your wedding and all your events if you want the kids to come at the family-friendly section. Your friends that don't have, or your guests that don't have kids that want to be in an adults-only environment can stay in adults only, and usually you can share. So let's say your brother has kids, your mom is coming, they want to stay with the grandkids at the kid-friendly, you and a bunch of your guests want to be at an adults only, but you decide one day you want to come over to the family-friendly resort and have lunch or breakfast or dinner with your brother. Most of the resorts will allow you to do that. So that's one option that I would call family-friendly, adults only, next to each other. We'll call that the sister resort option or brother resort option. Option 2 is what I call a combo resort. So there again, in most destinations, are resorts that may have some adults only amenities within a resort that's family friendly. I'll give you an option. One of my favorite resorts is the Grand at the Moon Palace in Cancun. Best resort down there, amazing resort. Family friendly, but for adults only amenities. They have a speakeasy. They have a French restaurant. They have a nightclub. They have a pool that's adults only. So again, while the resort is family friendly, there are amenities that your adult friends that just want to be around other adults, and the vibe of that can have that. Again, there are other resorts like that you really want to talk to your travel planner about that in each location, because there's a limited number of them, and sometimes you have to book a certain room category to get the adults only amenities, but I think that is a good option. Now, let's say that you look at the list and you determine, or you talk to people and you determine, you know what, we're inviting these people with kids, but no one's going to come. Now we can do adults only. Now, why do you want to do adults only versus family friendly? I have a couple reasons. One is there are a lot of family friendly resorts in each destination. There's many not good ones, many big list of mediocre, and then there's a smaller list of really good family friendly resorts for destination weddings and people's vacations. When you look at the adults only, it's quite the opposite. There's a really bigger list of great resorts, a very small list of mediocre, and there really are no terrible adults only resorts. So we find that the quality of the adults only resorts overall is better, unless you're doing a higher end family friendly, which is what we try to focus on, the 4.5 to 5 star. Also, the vibe is totally different at a family friendly resort. Now, there are different vibes at each family friendly resort. So this is the thing you have to think about when you look at your guests. So you have what I would call a Zen spa family friendly resort, really laid back. You have a romantic adults only resort. So let's look at like Sandals. That's a couples only resort, very romantic. Now you have some that are kind of more party resorts. I mean, as an example, the Breathless resorts are adults only resorts, have a party vibe, but they also have areas that may have a little bit of quieter areas. So again, this is not like an obnoxious spring break party. This is fun. I've been, as you can see, I don't look like the party guy, but I've been. They'll have activities. They may have bigger communal tables for group dining in the restaurants. And then you have what I would call the combo resorts, which is, let's talk about like, say, one of the Secrets resorts. So Secrets resorts may have areas that are more romantic, like a Secrets Mockche that may have a pool area that's a quiet pool area that's a little bit more romantic. You may have another pool that has some more activity, and you may have another area that's just a relaxing area as well. So I think in that adults only, it's a vibe thing, it's an experiential thing. The entertainment may be geared more to adults, whereas if you're at the family friendly resort, you may see Cirque du Soleil shows, magic shows, stuff like that. One of my favorite things at some of the adults only resorts are some of the couples newlywed game nights, and sometimes they'll have silent disco. So I just think the activities at the adults only resort are going to be different. But again, you can find that combo resort. The key is you have to look at who you're inviting, who you perceive is going to come, and then you really want to focus on this with your travel planner. The reality is there's great resorts, both family friendly and adults only, but what we have been finding recently is we've had a lot of family friendly resorts booked for clients, and as we get closer, we identify the fact that there's either no kids or very few kids. Now, I know you're thinking, well, I'll just call the resort and see if I can get my nephew in. They're not going to stay at the resort. I just want them to come for my wedding. Nope. Most resorts will not have that happen. I know you've heard about resort day passes or event passes. Doesn't matter. You cannot get an event or a day pass if you have a 5-year-old at a adults only resort. Now, adults only ages vary, but I would say the majority of the adults only resorts are 18 and older when they travel. So here's the thing, think about it. If you're planning your wedding now, and it's a year and a half from now, you really need to think about how old are these kids, if they're teenagers now, going to be when you travel. So these are some of my hints, tips, things to think about if you're thinking about adults only versus family friendly. If you need help, again, let your travel professional know up front, because you want to make sure that you identify this issue up front, versus as we've had clients come to us 6 months before their wedding and try to change the location from a family friendly to adults only. So hopefully this information is helpful. I'm Jack with Vacationese, and feel free to leave a comment, send me an email, give me a call if you have any questions about this topic. Thanks for watching the video.